Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing and football selections for Saturday, the 10th of January. Well, Kempton has passed the inspection, Warwick has failed the inspection, so we have Lingfield and Newcastle as well. Um, I will be, I will be providing selections for Lingfield and for Kempton, and I haven't given many selections out, but I do really like the look of these. There aren't really any huge prices. I think the biggest price is 18 to 1. But there are. I do like the look of these selections. So here are the first ones. So the first bet is a 30 pence each way patent, and this is basically my stronger fancied each way selections. The prices have changed slightly. Zaltala was bigger than that, and I think a pay Dinon was a little bit bigger than that. But let me get into it anyway. So as I said, it's a 30 pence each way patent, but then it's also a 40 pence each way treble. I think it takes it up to something like a fiver, something like that. So the first selection is a pay Dinon in the 317 at Kempton. This is the Skelton horse. You've got Harry Skelton riding at 10 stone 6. He hasn't, the lowest weight is ridden at in the last 12 months is 10 stone 2. This is a valuable handicap, but not the most valuable handicap. It's a decent price, don't get me wrong, but it will be shedding the weight because I think this has got a decent chance. It's 50 grand to the winner. This horse last time ran over an inadequate trip. It ran over, I think it was 2 miles at Leicester. That could be quite a tight. It's a kind of, it's a long stretch. It's a very tough track. It's one where it's got a long straight, and literally sometimes walking over the line. But it also it's like a, I don't know. I don't want to confuse things too much with Leicester's a very very funny track. It's one where it's quite tight, but then it's got a very long straight, and it's quite hard work, especially when the ground is heavy or soft. So this horse won comfortably last time at that course by, I think it was about a length and 3/4. I think that was a run to keep it ticking over, but also to keep its handicap marked down by making it struggle to win that race, which it won it comfortably in the end, but it was outpaced at one point because it was probably like a sprint to the line. I do think that's teed it up nicely because it's off the same mark, 124. If it had ran over 2 mile 5 in a handicap and absolutely hiked up, it would have probably gone up in the weight. So it's probably a shrewd move. I do think this has got a chance. Don't get me wrong, it's the joint favourite, so I'm not telling you anything you don't really know. But I'm not one for going for favourites. But I have gone for 2 in the race, but this is the strongest fancy. The other fancy is in the other bet. So the next selection is Zaltala at 7 to 2 in the 12:10 at Lingfield. So this horse ran in a race where I think it was the fourth favourite for this race, also ran in it. Well, this horse, my selection, Zaltala, was beaten that by that horse. I think it's called Tuxford Teller or something. It's the one in green, Tuxford something. Zaltala paid for chasing a fast pace last time. It did too much. It was slightly wide. I think it was drawn 8. It did too much, and it paid the price. I think a more sensible ride. This horse is out of stall 2 today. I just think it's got a much stronger chance, and I think you can tell by the price. The fact that it's 7 to 2 clearly shows that last time when it ran, it wasn't its proper running. Tuxford, whatever it's called, I think it begins with 2 T's in 2 words. I think that's 8 to 1 today. I think that just about sums things up and sums things up. And that horse that day came off the pace, so it benefited by the collapse of the pace. So I think Zaltala should run much better today. I think 7 to 2 is a bit stingy. I think I was expecting minimum 9 to 2, but yeah, it's a classified race, and I think it's got a strong chance. The third selection is Valadero at 5 to 1 in the 12:40 at Lingfield. This horse ran okay on its reappearance. It ran much better last time, I think, over an inadequate trip. It's now been stepped back up, but that running over that trip, it made it so it dropped another £2 in its rating. So it went from 52 to 50. Now it qualifies for one of these poor classified stakes races, but also it looks as though it didn't run that well last time, for anybody just looking at the form. But actually, it ran over a trip where it wanted further. It's back over that extended trip now, 7 furlongs rather than 6 furlongs. I think you'll see. I think that this is basically the best horse in the race, and I think they've gradually managed to like run it down the field. Not anything untoward, but in races where it can't really win, now they've got it into a level where it can win over a trip where it can win. So I think it's got a decent chance, this Valadero, and it's 5-1, which I think it's a reasonable price, and that's in the 12.40 at Lingfield. So, like I said, it's a 30 pence each way patent and a 40 pence each way treble. So the main each way bet is the next one. So there's a treble you can see I've put on. So So these are all the selections I'm having for today for the horses. So I'm pretty much going to read you through them. So it's a 10 pence each way, lucky 63. The first selection is Cocktail Bleu at 13-2 in the 12.20 at Kempton. If I'm being honest, there's about 5 in with a chance, and I think the favourite could be pretty decent. However, I just think there's a few question marks over it today, but in the future, I think it will be much better. The favourite will, but I think there's just a few question marks over it today. And I think this horse ran in a red hot race last time, won by, and I can remember this horse. It's called something like Kindrick Blur or something like that. No, it isn't. I'll tell you what it's going to call because I don't want to make this look embarrassing, but very quickly I'm going to show you. In fact, it's called Klimt Madrick, I've remembered. Anyway, not far off. So that was a warm race, and I don't think this horse really got home properly that day. It should have done, but it didn't. And now they reverted back to 2 mile. And I think this horse, it's not too far behind the principals on ratings, and I think it's better than it showed last time. The next selection is Dissident. This is in the 130 at Kempton. It's 18-1, and it's the biggest price of my selections today. What we need this horse to do is to go straight to the front and have a relatively basically control its own fractions. There is a slight problem with one of the horses where it basically bolted last time that's in this race. It's the one trained by Warren Gretrix. Well, it's got a first-time headgear this time, so hopefully, I'm really hoping that it's got James Bone on it again, but I am hoping that they're going to absolutely slam the anchor on and hold it completely covered up. This is the other horse, not my selection, so it doesn't take mine on. I'm hoping they anchor that horse at the back with the headgear on, completely tucked in, and Dissident can get a relatively easy lead. It is a former Judmont horse. It is by Frankel, so there is plenty of class, plenty of flat speed in there, and quality. It only achieved an okay amount on the flat, but it ran pretty well over hurdles last time, although it is still behind on figures. I think it ran to a form of 95, I think it was in total. Well, I think there's some quite nice horses in this race, but I do believe it could turn into, if it gets its own fractions in its own way in front, it could turn into a bit of a sprint up front. And I think this could maybe hold its own based on the like flat form and basically a little bit of the breathing as well. It's by Gary and Josh Moore. They know the time of day with their hurdlers. I never used to bite them, but I used to see them win so many hurdles over the winter, sometimes big races as well. And I'm thinking, like, I can't keep ignoring them. So I do think this has got a chance. One that has definitely got a chance is Faisal at 12-1 in a 3.17 at Kempton. It's got Olive Nichols on board, but I've just watched its last 2 races. The penultimate race, it was a little bit more workmanlike, but I thought that Faisal last time winning at Musselburgh, I think she could barely hold on to it at one point, and basically she wanted to keep the handicap marked down. So all she did, she just bumped it along after the last hurdle, and I think there's more to come. Faisal travelled much better last time than it did the time before. So I think he's finally getting the hang of things. Is it a doubtful stay? To be fair, it's 2 mile 5 at Kempton. It's one of the easiest 2 mile 5s you're gonna get. This horse, when it first came from the flat scene, which was it used to run over 1 mile 7 in France. Well, basically 2 mile. I've always said that if you run over 2 mile on the flat, you're normally going to want at least 2.5 plus to really benefit from the flat. I'm going to call it stamina and endurance because I won't really call it flat speed when you're a 2 miler on the flat. Um, what I would say is when you're taking a 1 mile 2 or a 1 mile 4 horse from the flat, then you've got some flat speed. You've normally got a turn of foot. When you're running over 2 mile, normally it's about churning it out. You know what I mean? Being relentless. And I think Faisal will benefit from this. The horse is still to convince, but it is massively heading in the right direction because it just looks better and better recently. Um, I'm actually thinking whether this has actually been a long term plan for the last 18 months, I think it's been, because with it running over 1 mile 7 regularly on the flat in soft and heavy ground over 1 mile 7, no, yeah, 1 mile 7, basically just short of 2 mile. I'm wondering if they've targeted this race for a while because when it first went to Port Nichols, they did try it out over 2 mile 5 a couple of times. And I'm wondering, did they want to see how it got home over that distance? And because it reverted to 2 miles, I'm not thinking that all of a sudden they decided it didn't stay. I'm thinking they thought, actually, yeah, this looks like a 2 mile 5. But what we'll do is we'll run it over 2 mile for the next year and a bit. Still pick up some prize money, still increase our its official rating enough to get it into this race, but then gradually up it into trip, up it in trip, and then pick off some nice, tasty races. Maybe that's been the thought, or maybe I'm just getting a bit carried away with it. I don't know, but make your own mind up. So that's Faisal. The next selection is in one of the early races. It's in the 11:40 at Lingfield, and it's 3 on Thursday. This also got a chance. Tony Carroll's got 2 in this race. This horse should be up with the pace throughout. It's been running over further, which, unless it's in the first 3, if it's not in the first 3 in running, then we're not certainly not gonna win the race. We might still sneak a place, but this horse has got more stamina, and I've seen a few of these in this race that don't actually regularly run over this trip. I think it's either a mile or a mile and one. I think it's over a mile. This horse basically needs to be up with the pace throughout. Doesn't need to be a breakneck pace. They probably just need to pick it up from 4 furlongs out. Neil Callum's on board, sensible jockey. He rides this one regular. But Tony Carroll's also got another one in this race. So I think it's the second favourite. In my opinion, I think he's got a good chance of getting the forecast in this with his 2. They really need to pick it up from a long way out. And I think 3 on Thursday has got a decent chance at a decent price. Once again, there you can see, I backed this Altala again. It's at 7-2, and it's in the 12:10 at Lingfield. And again, Valadero at 5-1 in the 12:40 at Lingfield. I had to include my strong fancies as well as the ones where I like the look of. So those are all the selections. The football selections will be in the description and the comment by 10 a.m. So I wish you the very best of luck. Leave me a comment if you want to, like and subscribe, or give me a share, but nobody shares. So I wish you the very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.